Welcome to the Overcomers Overcoming podcast series, where we profile those who have overcome or are in the process of overcoming a life topic. We have three objectives with this podcast series. One is we want people to know that they are not alone in whatever life topic they may be experiencing, that there are others who have either experienced what they're going through or are willing to help them. The second thing is we want people to know that there are multiple solutions to any life challenges, life topics that you may be enduring. The third topic is if the situation that a person is experiencing could be a result of a decision that was made in the past, that if they had a life redo, they would reach a different decision. We want to help people with critical thinking skills such that we can help them make informed decisions. I'm Ron Cooper, president of the Cooper Culture. I'm with my wife and business partner, Marty. The Cooper Culture is sponsoring this podcast series. Today, we feature Kathy Kasten in the second episode. The first episode, she explained that she lost her mom very unexpectedly. And in this episode, she is explaining how she is recovering from overcoming that devastation. And she explains the legacy that her mom left and how she is building on that legacy. Marty, what are some aspects of Kathy's legacy story that we can pick up on?
I want to share one aspect of this podcast with you, but first I want to say, we've lost loved ones, and how many times have we said to each other, oh, I wish they were here. I would ask them a question about how they did this, how they did that. So Kathy has shared with us what she is doing now. Her father's still alive, how she has taken the family to the father, having get-togethers and having her children ask questions that they would like to ask her father about his younger days, growing up, whatever would mean a legacy with him.
Let's learn together some very challenging life experiences that Kathy is passing on to each one of us that I think can have immediate application to each one of our lives. Kathy, thank you for joining us again. For our listeners, we want to encourage our listeners to listen to the first episode of your podcast where you talk about the grieving part, the loss of your mom. But one of the aspects of that we're learning from you, Kathy, your mom left a legacy. She taught a legacy. Can you take the time to talk with us about legacy in general, legacy very specifically that your mom left, and what are some aspects of a legacy we all need to learn about and be intentional?
Wow, there's a lot of packed in that question. Okay, so the first piece of that I would say, and thank you for having me back, is that when I was doing the keynote presentation and the topic was decided on Live Your Legacy, I did a lot of thinking about what legacy is. And if you go look it up in the dictionary, or if you talk to people, I think most of the time the idea of a legacy is when you die, you're going to leave something to somebody else. I actually have a very different definition that I've created myself for legacy, and that is that I think legacy is also how you live, give, and love every day, and that's my definition. So having used that as kind of a start point, I would say, because I think we think, oh, we're going to leave that when life is over. No, I want to think intentionally right now about who I want to touch, how I want to touch them, what do I want them to understand is important for me and for them in my world, so that's not an accident. I don't want to have the I wish I had said or I wish I had done or I wish I had shown them thought late in my life or even at my death. I would be sad to have not intentionally thought about those things. So if I step back to my mom, there were a number of things that I'm very grateful for, and this was true for her and my father. The first one was my faith. That has been a central pillar of my entire life, and I'm so thankful that they lived that. You know, they took us to church. Mom was a Sunday school teacher. Dad was involved heavily in the church at many different levels. That was a legacy piece that they were living every day that would stay with me the rest of my life. Another thing that I learned from my mother was the importance of caring for others. She was a huge giver and really loved to support and encourage other people. And seeing the impact for a culture that's as busy as we are, I think we're often heavily isolated in spite of the fact that it looks like we're busy. And sometimes I think people use busyness as an excuse not to have deep relationships. And so having a chance to see her live that out, often, my brother owns an art gallery, and my mother worked there right up until the day of her death, a few hours a day, and she would hug pretty much every person who came in the gallery. Again, this was pre-COVID. And she would talk to them about their lives, and she would get information, and she would email them. And we had letters coming from all over the country from people. We had business people that were canceling big business trips to come back to be there for her funeral, and just all kinds of things because of the impact that she had. And again, she was a high school graduate. So, you know, from a worldly standpoint, if you were looking at education or things like that, she wasn't a doctorate. She had a huge impact, though, on so many levels. So that was another piece of her legacy. And I would say, thirdly, from her, I learned a love of learning, which is something that is going to stay with me all of my life, a willingness to embrace new topics, understand new things, listen to different points of view. Those were gifts that she brought into life. She had a really wonderful, kind, loving heart, but also a very determined nature to finish what she started and to hold on to things she believed. Those were beautiful legacy pieces from her. So that's kind of the review. I would say for me, as we have thought through our lives about the legacy we want to live, and I do a lot of work with this even with my coaching clients, we spend time talking about their priorities, their goals, their values, to really flesh out what are the most important things in your life. So for me, my top three are faith, family, and serving others. And so those three really drive the choices I make. And then we will sit down, my husband and I will do at least annual planning, but we do it pretty frequently, even in between, where we will sit down and talk about, you know, we want to have, as an example, the grandchildren have special memories of time with their great-grandfather. And so yesterday, one of our grandchildren got to go over and spend the day with my husband and my grandfather and my father's shop, wood shop. And so we're intentionally choosing to create some of those moments and memories. We're not waiting for them to just happen. And that's been really a powerful part of my goal and forward thinking piece, is to think about how can I serve people best, help me to see where I can make a difference.
No, that's a great. Yeah, Kathy, that's a great aspect, and you're speaking from your heart. I want to address it's a point almost in passing, but it seems you mentioned in the first episode that your mom had this innate trait, if I can use that term, that whatever it is she needed, she would give it. In other words, if my perception of what you said is, if your mom needed encouragement, give encouragement to others. If she needed hope, give hope to somebody else. In other words, whatever it is you need, be willing to give it to others. And if that is part of your mom's legacy, sometimes it seems, and tell me if this is maybe the way your mom was, just the way you live. You don't, you're certainly not trying to be ostentatious about it, but it's just a part of your persona, your life, the way you live. And I'm reading into this that your mom was just that way, that she's willing to give that what she wanted, and that seemed to be a part of her legacy. Am I hearing that or discerning that part of your mom correctly?
Yeah, it's interesting you brought that up, Ron. I've not thought of it that way before, but I think there's an awful lot of truth in what you just said. She definitely wanted to give, and yes, I would say that was probably true, that she recognized, and maybe the same as what I was talking about with grief, she recognized that she needed encouragement or she wanted support, and if she needed it, that must mean other people needed it too. And so that was definitely a part of her life, was living that out. And, that's what came really, a lot of these pieces together are what got me to the definition of legacy being how we live, give, and love every day. That reminds me, and it reminded Mom too, I think, that every morning we get up is a fresh day and we have choices, even in the midst of grief or sorrow or hardship. We have choices about how we're going to live that day. And I often think to myself, because I've had some health issues myself, if this were my last day, what would I want to leave for others? How would I spend it? What would be a valuable use of the time that I have to really make a difference in other people's lives? And that is so powerful, to know every day is a new beginning and every day is a new step. And if we fail the day before, today is another chance, and we can take those failures and really turn them into growth moments and opportunities to take a future step forward that maybe without the trip or the failure we wouldn't have even thought about. And so I love being able to intentionally think about life not just happening to me, but also making choices that, while there are things in our lives we can't stop or change. I could not stop my mother's death. I had no power over that at all. But I can choose how I react to it. And so that doesn't mean I don't grieve and I just shut myself off. It means that I go through it and I climb that mountain and I get to the top, and then I look for the sunrise over the next mountain and I say, okay, what can I do now today? I can't go back. Those days are done. Now what can I do with the time I still have?
Kathy, very well said. I would hope that for me, one of my legacies is I want for you to live today and forward, but possibly somebody could say that, Ron, Marty, Kathy, you shaped the way I think. And I would hope, Kathy, and it sounds as if you definitely have learned this from your mom and you're passing this on to your followers, that you have shaped the way I think. If I'm able to put into my head more positive than negative, I'm certainly going to be a positive influence on people. My circle of friends, I want to surround myself with people who think the same way, who share those kinds of values. Is that a part of legacy, Kathy, that you think of?
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think it's important to really recognize, in order to serve and to love other people, and honestly to be fulfilled in your own life to a higher level, you really do want to think about who you spend a great deal of your time with. There are people in our lives that are heavy, what I would call drainers, that always have needs, always have wants, are constantly pulling at us. And I want to serve those people, but I limit the amount of time I spend in those spaces. And I always build in some time after one of those situations where I can recharge if I need to be in one of those moments. And surrounding myself with people who have a similar mindset, but are willing to tell me the truth of what they think, not just tell me what I want to hear. That has been a very powerful support. And I want to say something too, Ron, that this is bringing up in my mind, and that is this. I believe that every single person born was put here in this time, in this moment, because they are the best person to be there. And I believe that they've been given gifts that the rest of us need. And so for me, part of this legacy discussion is helping people to really discover and enjoy their gifts, and just shine with their gifts. It leads to a more fulfilling life for the person with the gift. It means a bigger benefit for all of the people around them. And that can be sometimes challenging to even find what those gifts are that the Lord has given us. But it's beautiful when everybody is functioning at higher levels with the gifts they've been giving. We all benefit. And there are things I'm never going to be good at. So I'm really thankful for the people that have those skill sets, especially when they're just shining with them. That's a gift to me. So that was something I really thought I would. Yep.
Kathy, I want to say, I'm going to go back to where you said you were taking your children and your grandchildren back to your father and their grandfather, and that is so important, because I think in today's culture we don't do that. We don't get together with our families as much as we should, but you can learn so much from your grandparents, even though you may say, oh, they're old and they're old thinking and all that. But it is so important, because you'll look back and say, oh, how many times have Ron and I said, man, I wish I could talk to them right now and get some education from them. So I appreciate that, and you telling our listeners that.
Well, thank you. And, to expand on that a little bit, Marty, my father is just a brilliant man. He's a master wood carver. He's one of those people, anything that he sets his mind to, he can accomplish. And that has just been a wonderful legacy of his in my life, is to watch him put his mind into gear as to how he's going to get there. I mean, if he decided to go to Saturn, I have no doubt that he would get there. Being able to have that time with him, and going back a little bit to our grief discussion, in order for him to move forward too, because you can imagine after 57 years, and my mom didn't drive, they did everything together. So how to help him move forward, and one of the things that I think has helped him is to talk about, what do you want your grandchildren and great-grandchildren to learn from you? Because you're still here. There's a reason you're still here. You still have gifts to share. Your chapter is not done. And so let's talk about what that looks like. And that has given him purpose. We have actually even begun to sit down and do recordings. And I have intention of doing even more of those now this year with him, and sitting down and doing some little videos. A person listening, you could just use your phone and sit down with somebody close to you that really is important in your life and say, tell me about one of your favorite childhood memories, or tell me something that you learned that you feel is a really important piece of advice for life, or tell me some of the people that had the biggest impact in your life. I mean, what a gift that is. And that's something that we're doing intentionally right now, because there's no guarantee for any of us how many days we have. I'm thinking about doing some videos like that myself. Or write a letter, or if the person that's a grandparent is able to write and they love to write, have them do that, or take some pictures of them holding things that really matter to them. Those are all ways of capturing some of that legacy that we can share with the generations to come, because they have so much to tell us from the lives they've lived. My father is full of knowledge and experiences that I did not live.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So thank you.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Yeah, Kathy, you mentioned earlier the live, learn, love, and I think a lot of what your mom did was certainly what you were saying. I have reason to believe your dad lives it as well, that your life, other people's lives are more important than me. That is, I want to put a focus on you, and part of that is I want to help you live to your full potential. And there are many people, many of us, there was a part of my early childhood that I was living well below my potential. But if we are able to discern that through the working of the Holy Spirit, if our mindset is such that I want to learn about you and help advance you, then, Kathy, that's a major legacy we can leave behind. And it sounds like you, your mom, your dad, your entire family are living that aspect of the legacy.
Yeah, I think giving to other people, one of the prayers I have, and I even said this prayer before I went on stage for this presentation the day that Mom attended, is, Lord, help me to see these people through your eyes today. Help me to see what they need. Help me to listen to what they need. Because that's why we're here, is to shine a light, regardless of the circumstance of our own lives. I will caveat that with this. I think sometimes, especially Christians, can think that there's something wrong with taking care of yourself in that process. That's vanity. And I would say that you need to recharge. You cannot drive a car that has no gas in the tank. So one of the other pieces that I work on a lot of times with clients that I meet or coaching groups that I do is to talk about, while we're loving and serving other people and putting them in front of us, what do we do to make sure we have gas in our tank and that we're getting recharged? Because some parts of our lives are going to be really fatiguing and hard. And so in order to live a really powerful legacy for the good of other people, we also need to make sure that we're continually recharging as well, so that we have something to give.
No, you're right on, Kathy, and we've heard it from John Maxwell numerous times. You cannot give what you do not have. And if our mindset, our legacy, everything about our persona is to give, we have to fill ourselves. And it's not that we are a higher priority. It is a matter of our mindset, our discipline. I always want to have my tank full so that I'm able to give continuously. I never run out, and I never want to, and I want to guard against that.
Yes, that's very well said. And I think there's so much power in recognizing how important that piece is, and also to realize you cannot be all things to all people. If you want to know about building a space shuttle, I'm not the person to talk to because that's not my skill set. Recognizing and starting to be really clear about the gifts you have and serving with those, and then embracing the people around you who have the gifts that you don't, and rather than seeing that as a failure on your part or you're incomplete in some way, recognize that they are completions of you, that the Lord has put all of us in working part together so that the whole body works effectively. A heart can't be a lung, a brain can't be a foot, and yet a heart and a brain are useless if there's no body for them, because they would die. We need the blood circulation. Everything works together. And when we're all working together in our gift sets, the whole body functions better.
That's very well said, Kathy. Thank you for sharing from your heart. Thank you for the legacy that you are leaving. And I want to encourage our listeners, if they want to learn more about this topic, they can contact us, and we will be happy to continue this conversation to share what we have learned.
That sounds great. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, Kathy. What are some of your takes of Kathy's story? I just have a sense that one take is, if we are able to think into the value that each one of us has in a family relationship, every one of us has strengths. Every one of us has something of value that we are offering to the family. It is something that is a legacy that we can build ourselves on, build our lives on, build the lives of others. If we take the time to think into the valuable things, those strengths that individuals have, and build on that to the point where we tell our children, tell our family, tell our friends, here's something that we can build on. Here's something that we can carry forward. Here's a trait that a family member has that is admirable, something that we can carry forward into our lives ahead. Everyone has a strength. Yes, well, we have drawbacks, and but if we tend to focus on, if we do focus on the benefit that everyone has, our strengths, we can certainly pick up on those things that are strengths and pass those on to future generations. Again, relationships. As we think into relationships and we cultivate those relationships to the point where we have a total open, connected communication with each other, we are able to share in where a person has a particular learned trait that has value to others. Let's capitalize on that and pass that trait on to others. Make sure we highlight it to others to pay particular attention. Marty and I have developed a digital relationship course that we would like to make you aware of. The relationship course that we have is on dating, but the principles of the dating relationship course have application to all relationships. We are working on a second digital relationship course that deals with family and workplace relationships. But what we want to do is help people just get along better with each other, to learn the traits, the strengths that we have in each other, to learn how to better get along with each other, to have a connected relationship, to trust in each other. That's paramount in what Kathy is bringing out in this episode, where she's talking about the legacy that we each leave. I hope that you'll engage with us in the comment section. Just let us know what a take is that you have learned from this, and let's engage further. To send us an email message at Ron at thecooperculture.com or Marty, M-A-R-T-Y, at thecooperculture.com, or call us 410-586-1875. Let's learn together, and let's pass on those family traits, those friendship traits, those relationship traits that have lasting value, such that we can pass those on to others and have just a great relationship, and we leave a legacy for others that others will want to carry forward into future generations. We look forward to sharing with you. Let's get together and just let us know what some of your ideas are that have worked for you. We look forward to communicating with you.